We're getting more details about the suspect in the shooting that killed 4 Marines in Tennessee yesterday. Stephanie Ramos is in Chattanooga with more.
The FBI, Homeland Security, and local law enforcement continue to vigorously investigate how this young man could go from all-American popular student to mass killer. Today, federal investigators are removing items from the home of the man they've identified as the killer of 4 Marines in Tennessee. That gunman, 24-year-old Mohammed Yusuf Abdulaziz, an electrical engineer, didn't live far from the locations where yesterday's shooting rampage occurred that took the lives of 4 military heroes.
This is the event we've been most worried about, and then it happened. It's extremely tragic to see an American soldier killed on American soil.
Eyewitnesses say the Marines came under fire from about 15 yards away after Abdulaziz opened fire. Earlier, the gunman used a high-powered rifle to unleash a barrage of bullets into a military recruiting office nearby. Among the dead, Thomas Sullivan, seen here in a Marine Facebook post, who served 2 tours in Iraq. The 40-year-old earned a Purple Heart for injuries he suffered during his active duty tour. And Skip Wells, 21 years old, from Marietta, Georgia. The bodies of the Marines are being brought to Dover Air Force Base, where the military mortuary is located. Security at military recruiting and reserve centers is now being reviewed in the wake of the shootings. The White House agrees with the move.
That it's important for us to take the necessary steps to ensure that our men and women in uniform are safe.
As authorities search for clues that would explain what motivated the recent engineering grad to commit such a violent act, so far they've found no known links to terrorism. Public records indicate Abdulaziz had no criminal history aside from the DUI in April. The Chattanooga community is gathering here at this church for a vigil to honor those decorated Marines who were killed. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Stephanie, thank you. Now, it should come as no surprise that the Chattanooga shootings are being treated as domestic terrorism. Of course they are, and should be. And it's not because the gunman's name is Abdulaziz, and it's not because he's from Kuwait, and it's not because he's Muslim, and it's not even because his targets were military and his victims were U.S. Marines. This is domestic terrorism because it leaves people terrorized, wondering how or if they can keep themselves and their loved ones safe. Just like the shootings last night in northern Maine, 1 gunman, 3 victims, terrorism. Just like the race-based shootings in Charleston Church, terrorism. Just like the murders of 20 elementary school kids in Newtown, Connecticut, terrorism. The movie theater shootings in Aurora, Colorado. That terrorist convicted yesterday of 165 counts of murder, attempted murder, and more. Terrorism. And the list goes on and on. We know them so well, we only need one word to remember them. Columbine, terrorism. Virginia Tech, terrorism. Even all the seemingly unconnected shootings in Chicago. 1,423 shooting victims this year alone. Multiple gunmen, but it's all terrorism. And at this point, you may be asking yourself, what does it matter what we call these gunmen? These are all tragedies, they are all sad, and they all demand justice. So what does it matter if we consider them to be terrorist acts? Because of what always happens after a terror attack, we take steps to prevent the next one, like this guy. You remember him, the shoe bomber? He was arrested in December 2001, and to this day, most flyers still have to take off their shoes before they get on an airplane. Oklahoma City, the weapon was fertilizer. Fertilizer, which is now controlled and monitored to stop something like this from happening again. And 9/11, we have no-fly lists, increased security, sealed cockpit doors, sky marshals, and a host of other preventative measures to try and stop it from happening again. We even institute preventative regulations for non-terror crimes. Too many knuckleheads were making meth out of sinus medication, so we regulated pseudoephedrine. Now you have to have ID scanned to buy Claritin, and that is better known as a background check. Even spray paint is now regulated because of people putting graffiti on buildings. Most stores, you have to show ID and be over 18 to buy it. But somehow, guns are different. Guns are protected, guns have a lobby, guns have political and legal support. But maybe, just maybe, if we started looking at guns as tools used by terrorists and gun dealers as people supporting terrorists, maybe we could make our country and our loved ones just a little bit safer. I know it's a screed, I know I went on a rant, but I'm tired of this. Too many times we've gone on this show after a mass shooting and had to try to discuss guns and gun regulations and gun legislation to no effect. And
Yeah.
Is it not, are we not terrorized? It's become the norm. It's like living in Ukraine at this point.
You know, well, you know, I mean, the semantics involved, obviously, you know, we categorize certain things as terrorism because, you know, they've got a political point, they've got a religious bent. Many of the people mentioned in that well-produced package there, however, were also insane, crazy people and participated in crimes that if every single anti-gun person's wish was fulfilled and every extreme gun law could be on the books, Newtown still would have happened.
But you can't police
Aurora
crazy.
still would have happened.
You can't
No, you
regulate
can't, but
crazy.
you have to
can
address
regulate
it.
the guns.
Well, that's
Richard
not
St.
true.
Paul has something to say.
That's not true. I mean, you can regulate people who have been committed to mental institutions. Obviously, when you walk into a gun shop, there is a background check that is done, right, to find out if you were at least arrested or I'm sorry, at least if you were convicted of a felony. The FBI admitted that Dylan Roof, who killed 9 people in Charleston, should not have gotten a weapon. And that's something that a system was in place that just malfunctioned. And what we need to do is we don't have to pass more gun laws. We have to enforce the ones that are on the books already, and we have to make sure like things like Dylan Roof, those type of
Richard,
malpractices
July
don't slip
5th,
through the
4 dead in South Carolina. June 24th, 4 dead in Green Acres, Florida. June 21st, 4 people in Roy, Utah. June 19th, 9 dead in Charleston. June 13th, 4 dead in Columbus, Ohio. June 7th, 4 dead in Deer Lodge, Montana.
But we have to distinguish whether those guns were illegally obtained or those are guns that were bought legally. That's the important factor. We want to keep guns out of the hands of criminals, not law-abiding citizens who have the Second Amendment right to carry
Andrew,
a gun.
Don't get frustrated, because I wouldn't even waste my breath until the NRA is taken on, until someone challenges the NRA that's just as powerful as they are. We will continue to hear arguments.
Well, how about we start that
defend
challenge right now?
Okay, but who's going to take the NRA on?
If enough people start getting behind this and enough people demand action, things will change.
They're too powerful when they got too much money.
But it's not the NRA. There are Republican and Democratic senators and congressmen who are sitting in Washington. When the Democrats had control of both houses of Congress and the White House, you didn't see any gun legislation passed.
I'm not saying this is a Democratic or a Republican issue.
Second Amendment right. It is a right. And the 99% of people with the right to carry an arm, they're not killing people with it.
First of all, it was only ensconced as a right like 7 years ago by the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay? No. The Second Amendment hadn't been interpreted that way. But I'm saying the time to push back on that is right. Let's start right here, right now.
Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it?
The American people are going to do it.
What my colleagues are not going to tell you. The Republican Party, the NRA owns most Republican officials.
And as Richard St. Paul just pointed out, and Democrats
wait, let me finish.
Okay.
As well as Democrats.
Okay.
They own Democrats as well.
You said that because I just put that in, but go ahead.
No, I was gonna put it in there.
Okay.
But who's gonna take them on? Who's going to take on the NRA?
But it's the will of the people. Every one of these folks represent a constituency.
But if it's the will,
they do not want
the
the
will
Second
of the
Amendment
people,
repealed.
the people on Sandy Hook wanted more constraints on guns. Did it happen? No.
No, but here's the thing: if they want, but even if all of those had been on the books the day of, it still would happen.
I'm sorry. This it wouldn't stop everything argument to me is nonsense, because it's. Yes, you're not going to stop everybody. And yes, people can still kill people with other weapons as well. But let's do what we can to try to.
Well, then you know what?
It's too easy to kill somebody. This knucklehead in Chattanooga had automatic or semi-automatic weapons.
If we listen to the experts in law enforcement, the biggest problem is illegal handguns on the street. It's illegal, and I wonder how many of those examples that you're giving, by the way, are young people in urban areas, black-on-black crime with illegal handguns. When are we going to start enumerating them?
You just
but it's an
mentioned
inconvenient truth for the left,
young people
because they're the ones who control those urban centers.
Wait, you said young people in urban centers,
and
I guess those young people in urban America, I guess they made the guns themselves. I guess.
That makes zero sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense
urban
because you're
centers-
scapegoating urban America and
I'm
urban
not
youth.
scapegoating. I'm talking about where the crimes
Okay,
are happening.
so-
There are young people
notice-
of color in
notice-
this country killing
notice-
each other on a daily,
Okay,
in some cases hourly
okay.
basis. But that's an inconvenient truth for the
Okay.
left that controls those urban
Dominic.
centers.
Notice I keep saying NRA,
I get passionate
and
about
notice he
this.
won't take on the NRA because money, money, money.
The NRA has
money,
nothing to
money,
do
money.
with it.
It's as simple as
NRA
that.
doesn't run the urban centers where people. NRA does not kill people.
Hang
Right,
on,
right,
hang on,
right,
hang on.
They're
hang
an
on,
advocacy group, just like
Hang
Planned
on.
Parenthood is an advocacy
I
group.
read, I
mean,
read.
I love both
hang
these
on.
guys.
I
I love both these
I
guys.
read them,
but I know they don't believe what they're saying. I know they don't believe what they're
no,
saying
no, no,
right
no.
now.
I've
I
got
know they don't
Mike,
believe it.
Mike,
They cannot
I
believe
I
it.
read you the mass killings in June. May 17th, 9 dead in Waco, Texas. That an urban center? May 13th, 4 dead in Anchorage, Alaska.
So what's your
You think
excuse
there's
for
a-
that?
my
there's a-
point.
What's your excuse
Anchorage,
for that?
Alaska.
Okay, wait, let's hear
May,
this, please.
5
What's
dead,
your excuse
May
for
12th,
that?
5 dead in
This is my
Tucson,
excuse.
Arizona.
Oh no, I want
This
to
is
hear
not
it.
my excuse. What I'm
Second
saying
Amendment.
is
What's your
I
excuse
would,
for that?
I would not being an example and not an expert and not having a list of examples in front of me. I would venture a guess that for each one of those shootings, there were God knows how many young people of color on young people of color killing each other with illegal handguns.
What
in
does
urban
it matter?
centers.
What does it
What
matter?
matters is when the discussion
Thank you.
starts about the NRA. The NRA is about legal guns, legally
No.
purchased, and the right to
The
own
NRA
them.
is about no restrictions on guns whatsoever.
true.
No,
There-
that is
what,
not true. That's
what
not
restriction
true.
on guns has the
That's
NRA
not true.
supported?
Hey, background. What's already in place? That's a background check.
They
didn't
Wayne
say
LaPierre
repeal it.
went before Congress after Newtown and said no to background checks. And the NRA said that they would hold that vote against members of Congress
You
who then
already
voted
have-
it down.
There is already a background check.
And it works so well.
And that's what I said. We've got to fix the system. We have to enforce the laws that are already on the books, which is illegal to carry a gun. Look, stop and frisk was a good idea to get weapons off the street in urban communities. Saved a lot of lives. Okay.
Look,
that's
You know what
that's
kills
type
me
of
is
policing
every
we need to
time
look
somebody
at.
like me starts talking about Chicago, you know what I'm met with on social media? I'm met with the faux outrage because I'm not supposed to care about young black men and black women in Chicago.
TJ, Andrew.
Sick of that
almost
double
on a
standard.
weekly
I'm
basis.
sick of that.
Do I talk about black on black crime?
Yes, you do.
You're not the only one that's talking. You think you're the only one that's talking about black on? It hurts.
but
let me
We're
ask
the
you
ones
this.
that can
When
walk
you
out of
bring
here
it up-
tonight.
when you bring
We're
it
the
up-
ones that can walk out of here tonight and catch a bullet. Not you. For chances are.
The statistics are.
Well, you can laugh all you want,
you
TJ.
just
It's
spent
real.
5 minutes
Whites
laughing
commit
over there.
crimes against whites. Blacks commit crimes against blacks. That's the statistics. You're more likely to be a victim of someone of your
what does
own
it mean? It has to
race.
do with his
It, does,
argument.
it doesn't have anything to do with
Okay,
it.
they don't- 'cause he doesn't have an argument.
What is an
It's the
AK-47?
NRA.
Right.
Money.
Who
But it's
needs an
not the NRA.
AK-47? What's the possible value of home protection with an
I can tell you,
AK-47?
people who legally own an AK-47 are not driving down the street killing people.
I'm not suggesting that they
Okay.
are. I'm saying that there's no need in a modern America for an automatic weapon. There's not.
Oh my
There's not. Not when they're being.
Semi-automatic
Look,
weapon.
I'm a libertarian at heart on a lot of issues. You guys have been on the show a lot, and you know that. I don't want the federal government any closer to me than it has to be. It's only when it abuts somebody else's safety, when my rights interfere with your safety, that the government has
I
to
gotta
step in.
tell you,
This is one of those cases.
I enjoy. Just a couple of weeks ago, I went out with my friends. I'm a former Army guy. They're Marines. We went out shooting all types of weapons: AK-47, AR-15, a sniper rifle. I had a great time shooting. I wasn't trying to kill anybody. I shoot paper targets.
That's wonderful.
And we had a competition. Who can get on the bullseye?
Richard, that's wonderful.
You would have lived.
And I'm a
No, it's
really,
not wonderful.
hang on.
You're
And I'm
telling
a
me
really,
I
and
should
I'm a
just shoot a
really good,
handgun.
I'm a really good driver when I go 200 miles an hour, but most people aren't. And that makes a public safety hazard. So just because you're good at it doesn't mean it's
But why
not a
do they-
public
so
safety hazard.
That's a good point. So why do they make, if the speed limit is 65, your point is basically, why do you need any type of gun? So if the speed limit is 65, why do we make cars that go past 65 miles an hour? Right? It's the same argument as why do we need AK-47?
What I'm saying is that while
we
you
have the
can
right.
handle it safely, a lot of people don't. And it's gotten to the
No,
point where it's
that's
a
not
public
true.
safety hazard. 30,000 people dead every year in this country.
And some of those happen to be accidental because people do mess up. You're right. They don't secure their handgun, and should they be punished for that? Absolutely right. If you talk to me about that, I say yes. If you don't secure your firearm and somebody kills themselves because you didn't secure your firearm, you should be punished.
And I applaud you for saying that, and I wish the NRA
right,
would
high
feel the same
five.
way. I
That's a
said
good
it's
way to
time to start this argument today. It's time to start this conversation today.
Write your congressman.
Here's the way I would boil it down. You're either for sensible gun laws or you're for killing Marines like we saw in Chattanooga.
I'm for sensible gun laws, which are on the books
You're
already.
either for sensible gun laws or you're for killing police and having police kill too many people because too many people are armed. And you're either for sensible gun laws or you're for killing children because too many of these guns are being used to kill too many of our children, and we've done nothing about it. And it's out of control.
Andrew, I know you got to take a break.
NRA.
And I hope this never happens to any of us. But what we're listening to, I wonder if we would have the same perspective if that victim was one of our loved ones. I wonder what we have the same defense of the NRA. At the end of the day, it comes down to money and how much power and money the NRA has. You just heard that for the last 15 minutes.
Right.
Bottom line.
I'll give you
Democrats and Republicans going to take that, right?
That's the
Yes.
last note in this.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
We're going to take a break. I'm going to regain my composure. And when we come back, a funny thing happened after President Obama visited a federal prison yesterday. Many Republicans actually agreed with his prison reform plans. Maybe the president should go behind bars more often. Don't say anything, Republicans.
I was just about to